Quick question. The Monopoly Man, does he wear a monocle? Most people say yes, confidently, immediately. He does not. He never has. Not in a single official piece of Monopoly artwork in the game's entire history. And yet, millions of people across the world remember him squinting through a tiny circle of glass that was never there. This is the story of why entire groups of unrelated strangers can share the exact same wrong memory, in perfect, confident detail. In 2009, a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broom was talking with other people at a conference about a memory she had. She distinctly remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. She remembered news coverage. She remembered a widow's speech. The only problem was that Nelson Mandela did not die in prison in the 1980s. He was released in 1990, served as president of South Africa, starting in 1994, and lived until 2013. Broom expected people to correct her. Instead, dozens of strangers told her they remembered the exact same thing, not a vague sense of confusion. Specific, detailed memories of news broadcasts that never happened. Broom coined a term for this shared false memory, and it stuck: the Mandela Effect. Since then, people have documented hundreds of these shared false memories, and once you start listing them, the pattern gets genuinely strange. Many people remember the children's book series being spelled the Berenstain Bears. It has always been spelled the Berenstain Bears with an A since 1962. Many people remember Darth Vader saying, "Luke, I am your father" in The Empire Strikes Back. The actual line is, "No, I am your father." Many people remember a 1990s movie called Shazam, starring the comedian Sinbad as a genie. That movie does not exist. It has never existed. Sinbad himself has publicly denied ever making it, multiple times, to people who insist they watched it as children. So what's actually happening here? The most common scientific explanation involves something psychologists call confabulation, the process by which your brain fills gaps in memory with plausible, invented details without you being aware that any filling in occurred. Memory researcher Elizabeth Loftus spent decades demonstrating this. In a landmark 1994 study, Loftus successfully implanted a completely false childhood memory of getting lost in a shopping mall into a significant percentage of adult participants, simply by having a trusted family member casually mention it as a real event. The participants didn't just believe it happened. Many of them added specific, vivid, invented details: the color of the shirt they were wearing, the fear they felt, details their brain generated to make the false memory feel complete and real. Which explains individual false memories. But the Mandela Effect is stranger than that because it's shared by people who have never met across different countries. Researchers point to a specific reason certain false memories spread while others don't. Schema theory, developed by psychologist Frederick Bartlett as early as 1932, suggests your brain doesn't store memories like a video recording. It stores the gist, then reconstructs the details later using existing patterns, or schemas, that already feel familiar. A wealthy, greedy character wearing a monocle is an extremely familiar visual cliché. Your brain, reconstructing a fuzzy childhood memory of a board game mascot, quietly borrows the monocle from that cliché and inserts it, with total confidence, because it fits the pattern so well. There's also a much simpler explanation for a specific chunk of these cases. In 2010, researcher Darren Strange and others studying false memory found that repeated exposure to a false claim, even a claim you initially recognize as false, increases the likelihood you'll later misremember it as true. This is sometimes linked to the broader illusory truth effect, first documented by researchers Hasher, Goldstein, and Topino in 1977, which found that simple repetition makes any statement feel more true, regardless of its actual accuracy. Which means every time someone jokingly writes Berenstain online, every meme, every casual mention, every argument about the spelling actively reinforces the false memory in anyone reading it, including people who technically knew the correct spelling 5 minutes earlier. Of course, there's a much less scientific explanation that some people prefer. The idea that we're experiencing bleed-through from parallel universes, timelines quietly shifting beneath us without our knowledge. It's a genuinely fun idea. It also has exactly zero supporting evidence and a fairly inconvenient problem. It requires ignoring an enormous, growing body of peer-reviewed research into exactly how and why human memory reliably fails in these very specific, very predictable ways. So here's where that leaves us. Your memory was never a recording device. It never has been. It's a reconstruction, rebuilt slightly differently every single time you access it, quietly filled in with whatever detail feels most familiar, most expected, most narratively complete. Sometimes millions of separate brains, working from the same cultural cliches, the same repeated jokes, the same fuzzy childhood impressions, fill the exact same gap with the exact same wrong detail, entirely independently. It's not a glitch in the universe. It's just what memory actually does, and has always done, to every single person who has ever confidently remembered something that never happened.